The year was 1980. The winds of change were sweeping through the Middle East. In Egypt, young Muslims grappled with a dilemma. They were members of jihad, troubled by President Anwar Sadat's policies. Sadat had embraced secularism and made peace with Israel. They sought guidance from Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman. They asked about the fate of a ruler who disregarded divine law. Rahman's answer was chilling death. This fatwa sent shockwaves through jihad. It legitimized their fears and justified violence. Sadat became an apostate, an enemy of Islam. Rahman's words ignited a firestorm. His pronouncements resonated beyond Egypt. They found fertile ground among disaffected youth. Rahman became the voice of the voiceless. His message was simple: Islam was under attack. Muslims must resist and fight for an Islamic state. His words were a call to arms, inciting violence. On October 6, 1981, the world watched in horror as Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, was gunned down in broad daylight. The occasion was a military parade commemorating the 1973 Yom Kippur War. The assassins, members of the Egyptian Islamic Jihad, saw this as an opportunity to strike a blow against a leader they considered an enemy of Islam. As bullets ripped through the air, shattering the festive atmosphere, one of the assassins, Lieutenant Khalid al-Islambuli, shouted, "I have killed Pharaoh!" The assassination of Sadat sent shockwaves throughout the Middle East and beyond. It marked a turning point in the relationship between Islam and the West, highlighting the growing chasm between secular and Islamist visions for the region. Sadat, hailed as a peacemaker for his historic visit to Jerusalem in 1977 and the subsequent peace treaty with Israel, had become a target for extremists who viewed any accommodation with Israel as a betrayal of Islam. The assassination was a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in a region riven by religious and political tensions. It exposed the deep-seated anger and frustration felt by many Muslims towards their own governments, which they perceived as corrupt, repressive, and beholden to Western powers. In the aftermath of Sadat's assassination, the Egyptian government launched a massive crackdown on Islamic fundamentalists. Thousands were arrested and many were tortured or killed. The Muslim Brotherhood, a once tolerated Islamist group, was banned, and its members were driven underground. The government's heavy-handed response had the unintended consequence of further radicalizing the Islamist movement. It confirmed their worst fears about the repressive nature of the state and fueled their determination to overthrow it. The genie of Islamic fundamentalism was out of the bottle, and it would prove difficult to put it back in. The assassination of Anwar Sadat was a watershed moment in the history of the Middle East. It signaled the rise of radical Islamic fundamentalism. Sadat's death was a symptom of a deeper malaise. Across the region, young Muslims felt alienated from their governments. They viewed secular, westernized elites with suspicion. They found solace in a return to their faith, yearning for a purer Islam, grounded in the Quran and Sunnah. Their grievances were manifold. They railed against corruption, lack of economic opportunities, and repressive political systems. They saw their countries as pawns in a geopolitical game. Charismatic preachers offered a narrative of resistance and renewal. They provided a religious framework for understanding societal challenges. Rejecting secular ideologies, they called for a return to Islam, urging followers to embrace a more pious way of life. Section 4. Breeding grounds for extremism, poverty, and alienation. To understand the allure of radical Islamic fundamentalism, one must look beyond the rhetoric of religious extremism and examine the underlying socio-economic conditions that provide fertile ground for its growth. Poverty, unemployment, lack of opportunity, and social alienation are not just abstract concepts, they are lived realities for millions of people across the Muslim world. In sprawling urban slums and impoverished rural villages where basic services are scarce and hope is a luxury few can afford, the message of radical Islam resonates deeply. It offers a sense of belonging, purpose, and identity to those who feel marginalized and forgotten by their governments and societies. The mosque, often the only institution that functions with any degree of effectiveness in these communities, becomes a refuge from the harsh realities of everyday life. It provides not just spiritual guidance, but also social services, education, and a sense of community that is often lacking in the outside world. It is in these environments, where despair and frustration run high, that the seeds of extremism take root. Young people in particular are susceptible to the allure of radical ideologies that offer simple solutions to complex problems. They are drawn to the promise of a more just and equitable society, even if it is achieved through violence. Moreover, the rapid pace of globalization and modernization has created a sense of cultural dislocation and identity crisis in many parts of the Muslim world. Traditional values and ways of life are seen as being eroded by the onslaught of Western culture, leading to a backlash among those who feel their beliefs and identities are under threat. Section 5. Mosque and State in Islamist Ideology. The relationship between mosque and state in Islamist ideology is a complex and multifaceted one. For many Islamist thinkers, the mosque is not just a place of worship, but also a center of political and social life. They envision a society where religious and political authority are intertwined, and where the principles of Islam guide all aspects of governance. This vision is rooted in the belief that Islam provides a comprehensive framework for organizing society, one that is superior to secular models of governance. However, this fusion of mosque and state is not without its challenges. It raises questions about the role of religious authority in political decision-making and the potential for authoritarianism in the name of religion. Moreover, the diversity of interpretations within Islam means that there is no single blueprint for an Islamic state, leading to debates and conflicts among different Islamist groups. Section 6. The Blame Game. In the aftermath of terrorist attacks, there is often a rush to assign blame. Governments, media, and the public look for convenient scapegoats, whether it be a particular religious group, a foreign power, or a specific ideology. This blame game can lead to oversimplified narratives that obscure the complex realities of terrorism and extremism. It can also fuel prejudice and discrimination against innocent people who are unfairly associated with the actions of a few. Furthermore, the focus on assigning blame can divert attention from addressing the root causes of extremism, such as poverty, political repression, and social alienation. By understanding the multifaceted nature of extremism, we can move beyond simplistic blame and work towards more effective solutions. Section 7. Can peace stem the tide of extremism? The quest for peace is often seen as the antidote to extremism. By addressing the underlying grievances that fuel radicalization, such as social injustice, economic inequality, and political oppression, we can create conditions that are less conducive to extremism. Peace-building efforts that promote dialogue, reconciliation, and mutual understanding can help to bridge divides and foster a sense of shared humanity. However, achieving peace is not an easy task. It requires sustained commitment and cooperation from all sectors of society, including governments, civil society, and religious leaders. Moreover, peace is not just the absence of violence, but also the presence of justice and equality. By striving for a just and equitable world, we can create a future where extremism has no place.